Hello. So in this session, we are now, which is session 5, we are now going to look at the profit or loss for a monopoly. Okay, so with our initial equilibrium point where the marginal revenue equal to marginal cost and the quantity being Q star and price P, if we have our average total cost curve or simply our average cost curve, we will be able to get the profit level or the loss level for the monopolist. Now, if we are to have the average cost that is below the price, then it means that given that our average revenue is here and our average cost is here, extending the line at this point gives us the area for the profit of the monopolist. So meaning this whole area becomes the monopolist's profit, because the unit revenue profit is equal to the unit revenue minus the unit cost, which is positive, and therefore the whole of this area becomes the monopoly profit. So if we extend that line, it means we will have a monopoly profit given by that area. Now, monopolists may also make losses in the short run, but in the long run, if such losses persist, the monopolist is likely to close down the firm. Now, how do the loss structure appear for the monopolist? Well, if the monopolist is making losses with our initial equilibrium where marginal revenue equal to marginal cost and our average cost curve that is above the average revenue curve, extending that line to the average cost curve gives us the monopoly loss. So we see that at this output level, the average cost is greater than the average revenue, and therefore the total cost is greater than the total revenue. And as such, the monopolist is making losses. However, as mentioned, these losses may not continue for a long time because the monopolist's goal is to make as much profit as possible, and because the monopolist has control over prices and output produced, the monopolist is likely to adjust the levels of output as well as the price to ensure that he or she does not land in losses. Let's look at the case of a constant cost. So what we've looked at so far is the rising cost, where costs are increasing with output. But if costs are constant for the monopolist, then it means that with cost and revenue on vertical axis and output on horizontal, and then we have our downward sloping average revenue curve and our marginal revenue curve that is below the average revenue, our marginal cost and our average cost will be equal and it will be horizontal as presented. And still the rule remains that the monopolist will maximize profit at a point where marginal revenue equal to marginal cost, and that is at this point here. So if we draw that and then get the corresponding price, we get the monopoly equilibrium, and price is P and output is Q star. Now it should be noted then that at this point you will notice that the perfectly competitive price then will be this price here, and the output will be this output here where price equal to marginal cost, and this is the output for the perfectly competitive firm, which is more than the monopoly output, and the price, as can be seen here, is lower compared to the monopoly output. It should also be noted, therefore, that the monopolist is able to discriminate the prices that it charges. To a given class, a monopolist can charge a higher price, and to another class, it can charge a lower price. Think about ZESCO, which charges separate prices for the electricity depending on the band and the area of connection. So as such, you will notice that there are people who would pay a higher price to get units from certain income brackets or certain residential areas, and others who would pay a lower price to get certain units. And as such, given that the monopolist is able to discriminate, it means that then the monopolist is able to chew into the consumer surplus and get it all to himself, because he can charge at any price level, starting from this top price here all the way down until where the price equal to just the marginal cost, meaning the all of this, if the monopolist is able to discriminate, it means even this area will be invaded and therefore become part of the earnings of the monopolist. Okay, so with that, we have the monopoly profit indicated here, because here the average cost is less than the average revenue, and therefore the whole of this area is the monopoly profit. At this point, we see that the monopolist is in the long run and is able to make profit, whereas a perfectly competitive firm will be making zero economic profit or simply normal profit. And at that point, we see that the triple condition for perfectly competitive industry exists, where price equal to marginal revenue equal to the average cost. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. If you have questions, please send an email to moawelias@gmail.com. And this is unit 5, session 5 and not session 3. So this should be captured as session 5. So where we are going, we will look at session 6 and then see the monopolistic competition structure as well as the oligopoly. Thank you very much.